It's very welcome to see the increase in your departmental budget. It's a hugely significant increase from budgets before it, and it's very reassuring to see the focus on investment in public transport. As a country, we planned for the last 40 or 50 years around cars, and as such we have ended up in a situation, well, pre-COVID anyway, where we have massive congestion and we have massive urban sprawl, and we had hugely emissions from transport were spiralling and upwards, and we had air quality issues throughout our towns and villages and cities. And it's no wonder if you plan for 40 or 50 years for something, that's what you get. So our current focus at the moment is COVID related, and that's correct. But we also need to think forward to a time when we will be COVID free, which I believe we will be, and I don't know when that will be, but that's what we're all working towards. And the investment in public transport, it does take time, because it requires capital investment, and these projects take time to get up to speed, to design, and if there's land acquisition required. So it's timely that we are aiming this budget towards public transport investment. If we could just move on to some of those public transport areas. Rural bus services were touched on earlier on. Deputy Crowe mentioned the expressway, and it is critical that we provide options for people in smaller towns and villages to have that option to leave the car behind. Now, you're never going to be able to provide a 10-minute service like Bus Connect would for a highly populated area, but you still need to provide a service that's attractive, that offers an alternative to somebody getting into their car and driving, because it opens up options for employment, it opens up options to recreation, to places of education, that you don't have to be car dependent if you live in a town and village if there is a bus service in the morning. And in your statement you mentioned about investment in public transport, I think it was in relation to the railways, about maintaining steady state. And I think we need to have a higher ambition, that we say we go higher than steady state, that we improve frequencies, that we improve levels of service, that we give people more options, and therefore we have to up our game to maintain it at that level. Like I take, for example, one or two towns in Wicklow, my constituency, in Tinahely and Carnew and places like that, where people are forced to own a car if they want to get to work in the nearest population centre, like maybe Gorey or Arklow, for employment, and that adds an extra cost to them. And if you, where the argument comes forward that this service is no longer viable, so we're pulling it back, if you make a service so unattractive and so unreliable and offering very little alternative to somebody, it is of no use, and therefore people don't use it, and therefore you can make the argument it's not viable because nobody's using it. If you provide those services and you provide them at times, I think people will use them.